Mortal Kombat 9 is the first fighting game I really played, successfully introducing and desensitizing me to fictional violence from a very young age. But I've stuck around with the series of games ever since, MKX, 11, even the Injustice games. Mortal Kombat lore and power scaling could warrant its own video, but the end of MK11 reset the entire timeline, saving me from doing actual research. Phew. I was gonna play Mortal Kombat 1 regardless of whatever DLC they added to the game, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited when I found out they were adding Omni Man. Of course, DLC isn't canon to the games or anything, but the introduction of Omni Man did bring up an interesting topic point. Could Omni Man beat the MK1 roster? And I'm sure you know my opinion if you read the title, but let me tell you why. So not too long ago, I watched a video by MadMax66 which goes over this general idea, but I don't think the video encapsulated just how much of a mismatch most of these fights are.
Reptile's acidic saliva seems to be pretty potent, no matter who you are. So even if Omni Man was able to resist it for a while, I feel like it would eventually eat away at him.
A while back I made two different videos, one on speed blitzing, the other one on the problem with Crosshair's battles, which I recommend despite being a little older. But this hypothetical embodies the overall point I made in those videos. Mortal Kombat characters are strong and they can fight. Omni Man is strong and he can fight, so this should be interesting, while ignoring the massive stat difference in speed, durability, and strength. So we can start with Omni Man and move our way throughout the list in the order of Mad Max's video. Speed is the most underrated aspect in versus battles, whether it be movement, reaction, or combat speed. If you can't keep up or perceive your opponent, 9 times out of 10, you can't beat them. And we see Omni Man pretty casually fly at speeds where he burns through the atmosphere, bursts through fighter jets, and fights at those same speeds too. Of course, not even mentioning his faster than light travel speeds where he moves through light years worth of space in a short amount of time. He has the strength to crack entire mountain ranges with a punch, Kool-Aid Man through buildings, cause city-sized explosions while flying, and states he once stopped an asteroid the size of Texas, which would have put the asteroid's weight at around 1.3 billion tons. He's relatively unaffected by not one, but 2 laser beams that vaporize the surrounding area, leaving him with a slight nosebleed, and has a Viltrumite healing factor which allows him to survive injuries that would otherwise be fatal. He can cut through other Viltrumites with his hands, who should scale directly to Omni Man, putting his AP well above that of the attacks that couldn't harm him. This is without getting into the comics where he's shown off even more nutty feats. Mainly because I haven't read them, but the feats I've mentioned put him way beyond anyone in the MK1 roster. We can start off with a really obvious one, Liu Kang in his god form, which he did relinquish before the events of the game, but this version absolutely destroys Omni Man, just blinks him out of existence.
You have destroyed worlds. I have erased whole timelines.
Finally, a worthy challenge.
No, not a worthy challenge. Omni Man and the entire verse just disappear. He starts off with the characters who have no chance, and the first one is Johnny Cage. I won't waste any time here, although he's a pretty great fighter. He beats Kenshi before he had Sento, but he lacks his green energy attacks that he once had, or feats that had him fight and defeat an Elder God. Cage gets blitzed and one-shot. Peacemaker is another DLC I'm pretty excited for, but I'll be honest, I'm not super well versed in Peacemaker comics. But since they use John Cena, it's safe to assume that this is the DCEU version. He's practically superhuman, but closer to Captain America than Superman. Super strength, super durability, super hot, and a great shot. But Omni Man has dealt with much stronger superhumans before, being able to slice through much more durable opponents with a swipe of his hand. Peacemaker gets one shot. Tanya is an Umgadi, which means she's a proficient fighter tasked with protecting Sindel. She can create these constructs of fists which can block attacks and punch people, of course. These constructs aren't impenetrable. Omni Man bursts through them and one-shots her. Li Mei is a similar case, having a pretty destructive firework power that simply wouldn't be able to harm Omni Man. Kitana and Mileena are surely a step above the previous 2 entries, being better fighters as we see they come after Li Mei in the tournament. Regardless, it wouldn't matter. The weapons wouldn't pierce Omni Man's skin, and Mileena's Tarkat disease wouldn't be a factor. He's dealt with much stronger, crazed enemies before. Reiko being after Mileena and Kitana is an interesting choice because of their placements in the tournament, but granted, Reiko does seem more battle-hardened than the sisters, being trained by General Shao to be a deadly fighter. Alas, he stands no chance. Since he's the grappler type, he'd have to get in close to Omni Man, and the strength difference would negate any skill Reiko has. Next he lists characters who have a slight chance, but I'm here to tell you that these guys still have no chance. Starting off with Kung Lao. Hat can't hurt Omni Man, neither will his fists, and his ego won't play a role at all.
I think he'd have a slight chance at winning over the Viltrumite, so long as he keeps his ego under control.
Kung Lao gets sliced in half. Baraka, just like Mileena, suffers from Tarkat, which makes him animalistic and dangerous.
Baraka has been shown to be a proficient fighter with the use of his arm blades, so I can realistically see him giving Omni Man a run for his money.
But Omni Man dealt with similar bloodthirsty enemies before. These zombified robots are capable of fighting on par with Invincible, who is also a Viltrumite. And while that one was just a random college student, these guys were soldiers, so it's reasonable to assume that they're stronger than the one Mark fought. 3 of them attacking Omni Man at the same time were destroying the area they were fighting on, but failed to even make him bleed. Baraka stands no chance. Takeda in this new timeline might be Hanzo Hisashi, the original Scorpion, but with no feats it's kinda hard to place him anywhere. But assuming he's relative to the other ninjas on the roster, which are coming very soon, he has no way of keeping up with or hurting Omni Man. Next are the 3 ninjas, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Spider-Man, Smoke. The 3 are the best fighters we've seen on this list so far, each with pretty impressive abilities that put them well above the rest. Smoke is at the bottom here though. He doesn't have the means to fight Omni Man. He's very hands-on and up close, and simply wouldn't be able to damage him. Sub-Zero is an interesting case because of his ability to instantly freeze opponents, assuming this is magical ice that can just do that, and frozen enemies become brittle. Meaning if Omni Man slips up, he can find himself frozen and possibly killed. That being said, Omni Man has the reaction speed to avoid being iced, but I could see the fake ice body catching him off guard once. This is Sub-Zero's one and only win condition, but it's the first one so far, so it's something. And if Sub-Zero doesn't immediately capitalize on Omni Man being frozen, he likely wouldn't get another chance. Of course, not even mentioning the possibility of a speed blitz or Omni Man immediately breaking out of the ice due to his strength advantage. Scorpion, like Sub-Zero, has a pretty flimsy win condition. Viltrumites have a weakness to intense heat, which we've yet to see in the show, but it's been pretty faithful to the comics so far. The only issue is, we've seen Omni Man be unaffected by a laser that vaporized the area, so I don't believe Scorpion's fire will do much damage, if any. We don't know how hot Scorpion's fire burns, and while orange flames tend to reach around 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit, we've seen Viltrumites fight on the surface of the sun, and our sun reaches over 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Even if you want to completely wank Scorpion and say his fire is that same temperature, it wouldn't be able to put Omni Man down immediately, but it might hurt him. Since we see Viltrumites fight on the sun for extended periods of time, Omni Man would almost certainly fight through the short bursts of fire, leading Scorpion to the old one-shot kill. And no, this is an OG Scorpion with magical hellfire. New timeline and all that. Kenshi was next on the list, and without a proper win condition, I don't see him having a better chance than Scorpion and Sub-Zero. With Sento, he can summon an ancestor who I can't imagine to be killed, but shortly incapacitated. Giving Kenshi the benefit of the doubt, and saying that Sento and the Sword Dude are capable of cutting Omni Man due to magic and possibly durability negation. So with a possible way to kill Omni Man, Kenshi would just have to hit him, which would be very hard with the aforementioned speed difference. And even if Kenshi were to tag him a few times, Omni Man has powered through much worse. Nitara's next, and she most likely has the highest movement speed of the bunch, able to blitz her opponents by using her wings, quickly moving across the screen in a blur. But Omni Man's experience with speedsters much faster than Nitara negates her one and only trump card. She's got nothing else, and she gets taken out. He starts off his great chance section with Reptile, but he's got just about the same shot as the other 3 ninjas, if not less so. He can shapeshift into a large lizard, turn invisible, and use acid to burn through enemies. The acid has no showings of being potent enough to burn right through Omni Man, but even if so, it's just another Sub-Zero situation where Reptile will struggle to actually hit Omni Man. And even then, it wouldn't be an insta-kill. His lizard form wouldn't be an issue, he's fought much larger and much more dangerous creatures before, and has dealt with camouflage opponents, which I don't see being more or less effective than Reptile's natural invisibility.
I know that Omni Man has fought invisible opponents in his home series, but they were using cloaking technology, which I feel is a far cry from natural invisibility.
Rain is definitely one of the more dangerous characters here, with a very impressive on-screen showing of summoning a huge storm to drown out a city. Although it isn't canon, it stands to reason that Rain is capable of doing this. But we see that Omni Man is just fine with fighting underwater, or even fighting water-based opponents. His speed advantage still remains even if Rain can pull off the city-destroying feat against Omni Man before getting killed. Havoc's a unique case because of his ability to shrug off most damage he takes. He rips off his own arms and legs and can bounce back from pretty much any amount of damage. This might catch Omni Man off guard for a bit, wondering why a fist through Havoc's chest didn't instantly kill him. But even then, Havoc doesn't have the means to injure Omni Man, as he uses close quarters combat and his own broken bones to fight. Even if it takes a few tries, Omni Man can just fly through Havoc, killing him. Asha doesn't have any crazy feats, but we know that she has to be one of the most skilled combatants as she goes through and kills many other demons. Even if you want to say she's more skilled than Nolan, although he's one of the most skilled Viltrumites in a society of warriors. The stat difference is still too much, and there is no way for her to put him down. She gets one shot. Raiden's up next, and I could see an argument for him beating Omni Man in his past versions. But this Raiden is no longer the God of Thunder. He might just be the most skilled fighter I've mentioned yet, as he won the Mortal Kombat tournament, and his unique lightning abilities could certainly be a factor. But the stat difference, man, what else do you want me to say? Oh, the old Homelander versus Omni Man debate. I touched up on this fight in the 2 videos I mentioned earlier, but I will again. The Boys verse and the Invincible verse are not close to each other in power. The Boys is much more grounded in reality than Invincible is. Both play a role as their own evil Superman, so they're easy to compare, but every stat goes to Omni Man easily. From strength and speed to combat ability. All Homelander has on him is his laser vision, which wouldn't be able to put Omni Man down. Same old laser feet and whatnot. Love him or hate him, Death Battle made a great video showing off just how mismatched this really is. Just watch the shows, they aren't close at all. Sindel is another character with a possible win condition. Viltrumite's inner ears are highly susceptible to a certain frequency. Her hair attacks wouldn't be a factor at all, Omni Man would just rip out of it, and her physical attacks wouldn't harm him. Sindel's scream is calced at around 235 decibels, which is more than enough to rupture lungs and give you brain hemorrhages. Although exactly what the anti-Viltrumite frequency is unknown. But just to make it interesting, let's say Sindel can hit this frequency. Her ability would cause Omni Man to be unable to fly and cause paralysis. Because of this unique matchup, I honestly believe Sindel has the best shot in the entire roster at killing Omni Man. But in the randomness of these hypothetical battles, Sindel wouldn't automatically spam her screams at Nolan. We see that she's also pretty hands-on in her fighting, but if she isn't immediately killed, I could see her having a real shot at winning. But it's much more likely that she gets blitzed, or Omni Man powering through the scream and killing her, or her scream just not hitting the frequency. The final group he lists are in the equals tier, which, no, probably not. Ermac's the first tier because of his ability to house many souls. He is powerful, but he canonically lost to most other characters I already mentioned a while back on this list. Although he may not be able to die, he can be beaten, and again, he can't hurt Omni Man. Quan Chi is a similar case due to his soul powers, but he also got beaten by most characters on this list. No win condition, Quan Chi's necromancy won't be a factor, Omni Man can just nuke the battlefield with a punch and take them all out at once. Omni Man does him worse than Scorpion did in MKX.
Get over here!
Shang Tsung is definitely a step above Quan Chi, however. His ability to transform into his opponent means that Omni Man will be fighting a physical clone of himself. Meaning Shang Tsung is the first character here that doesn't get one shot. Mix this in with Shang Tsung's soul powers and I can see Nolan having a slightly drawn out battle. But we've seen Omni Man battle and defeat other very powerful Viltrumites before. And although Shang Tsung is a powerful opponent in his own right, he doesn't automatically possess Omni Man's fighting ability. Not a complete stomp, but Omni Man does win. General Shao is usually a powerhouse within Mortal Kombat, but he gets whooped by everyone in this game. There is a feat of him defeating Onaga in his ending, but it's hard to gauge just how powerful he is, especially in relation to Omni Man. Similar to Homelander, Omni Man just outdoes Shao in every single category. Liu Kang might just be the closest in terms of physicals, scaling directly to characters who fought against and defeated Elder Gods. And although he lost his god form, he still retained some of his extra powerful abilities, like dragon summoning and fireball casting. But these powerful gods are threats due to magic and their special abilities, not physical force, which would be the deciding factor in this one-on-one fight. I don't even gotta say what happens next. Garrus was the final character on his list, and sure, he is powerful, time abilities are nothing to be scoffed at. Yet he still lacks the physical capabilities to fight Omni Man. Do I sound like a broken record yet? His ability to freeze people is only temporary, so although Omni Man won't be able to immediately escape if caught, he doesn't have the means to capitalize on it. Mad Max did make the point that Garrus is immortal and can't be killed, which is true. We see that in MK11 he came back from everything that was thrown at him. But immortality does not equal durability. If someone can't be killed, they can still be beaten. I've seen that a lot, like, oh, well, how would he lose if he can't die? I mean, look at Deadpool, he gets his ass kicked all the time. So Omni Man can't kill Garrus, but he can beat him, with little to no effort, honestly. Throw him into the sun or something. Meanwhile, Garrus has no way of beating Omni Man. That's everyone, video's over! Thanks for watching till the end of the video. We're almost at 1,000 subs, so I'm hoping to get there soon. And no hate at all to MadMax66, go watch his video, I'll link it in the description. I see how the hypothetical's fun, but when you really start comparing what everyone's capable of, you see how one-sided things really are. It's just that Omni Man's out here fighting dudes much faster, much stronger than anyone we've really seen in Mortal Kombat. I don't want to really speak too much on OG Mortal Kombat and all that, just because, you know, that's me kind of talking to talk. But at least MK1, he scales way above everyone, you know. Maybe Cabal, again, OG Mortal Kombat, is really fast, but he doesn't even hold a candle to like someone like Red Rush, who got obliterated by Omni Man. He's just flying way faster than anyone in Mortal Kombat. He's much stronger. You know, the asteroid the size of Texas, like that's crazy. No one's touching him. But my next video will be on the Scarlet Witch from the MCU specifically. So some people might not love that one, but that's kind of the point. Subscribe to see when that one's out. Should be out around the time What If drops, and I'll see you guys later.